Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications.
I hope you're doing well today. It is September the 8th, 2020, and it's a Tuesday. And apparently Tuesday does not have a feel. Monday has a feel, but yesterday was a holiday, so that felt like more like Sunday than Monday. Today is Tuesday, but it actually feels more like a Monday. I'm on vacation this week, but it doesn't really have a feel. It's just like one perpetual Saturday this week for me. And I don't know if you've ever had to work on a holiday before, but it is truly like the grown-ups equivalent to being grounded, where you're sent to your room by your mother or whatever, and you have to look outside and the weather's really nice and you're watching all your friends play in the yard or in the street and you have to sit up there and just watch them, right? And then when you're a grown-up and you got to work on those holidays, everyone else is making plans to go to the pool, go to the beach, go to the lake, whatever it happens to be, go on a boat ride or whatever it is, and you got to dress up and go to work. It sucks, man. It really does. It's also the unofficial ending of summer. So if you're not from the United States, summer unofficially just ended yesterday. You might not have been aware of that. Most people take summer all the way to, September 20th or the 21st, And you might not be aware of this too, but this was decided upon before I was born even, that it is a big no-no to wear white after Labor Day. So no wearing white anymore. That's it. Put it in the back of the closet for now, right? All right. Now, I do have some questions to cover in this video. If you have a question about Maitreya or the Masters of Wisdom, you can always post that question as a comment. And I'll do my best to answer it in the next video. And I also want to cover the first comment is directly related to what I just said, because this person said that I answered his question. How about them apples? This is from Joku Vane. Thank you for the answer. God's blessings. Joku, God's blessings back to you too, my friend. It's always a pleasure. So anytime you want to ask me a question about Maitreya, the Masters of Wisdom, feel free to ask me it. I am a one-trick pony. There's other questions that people have asked that I don't know the answer to because I don't know everything. So just try to keep it related to this topic. All right. Now that was the easiest comment to cover. The second comment that is kind of a question, even though he didn't put a question mark in there, comes from David. All right, it says, what do you believe in then, politically speaking? Irresponsibility? Nobody's allowing anybody to starve. It's the byproduct of dereliction of consciousness, not conscience. It's personal responsibility, and technology has only accelerated that spirit of AC 10 times. I am trying to figure out what AC stands for, sorry. Knowledge and confusion are not necessarily mutually exclusive. You're way deceived. Donald Trump, whether anybody believes it or not, or no matter how counterintuitive it may be, promotes personal responsibility and people to thus find their own personal independence. It's called individualism. I only say that like that because he put it in all capital letters. Over Gnosticism. Unwavering confidence versus doubtful prognostication. These philosophies only get rid of such individualism for the counterfeit. Creme is a fraud. And then he went on to say that, where is it? Gregariousness doesn't make someone a dictator. David, first of all, before I address your comment and I guess your question, thank you for posting your comment. I do appreciate you taking the time to do that, so let's get that out of the way. I do disagree with what you said, and I'm sure you disagree with what I say. So this world's big enough for both of us to have two different opinions about Donald Trump and about the principle of sharing and everything like that. So we can agree to disagree on this. Now, what do I believe in politically speaking? I believe that politically, globally, or global politically, I guess, the number one priority should be peace. That we should have institutions politically in place or trying to put them in place to establish long-lasting, permanent peace. Now, Maitreya, the way he's said it before, but the way he's going to bring it to the general public's attention is that peace is the number one thing that we need to work on. because he put it very simply, a lot simpler than I can. He said, without sharing, there can be no justice. Without justice, there could be no peace. Without peace, there could be no future. That's what I think and what I believe in, politically speaking, should be the case. Now, let's get into the other aspects of it. It says, nobody's allowing anything or anybody to starve. It's a byproduct of dereliction of consciousness, not conscience. It's personal responsibility, and technology has only accelerated that spirit. Now, according to Maitreya, we are all allowing starvation to happen. We have enough food already going to waste that could be shipped overseas to other countries where people are literally starving to death, and we could give it to them and end hunger rather rapidly. Now, I don't know if it'd be overnight, but it could be within a week or so. I mean, that's how fast it could happen. So it's not a question of, lack of resources, but more of complacency. That's the evil in it, what's going on today. Now, if you look at it, it's not a question of personal responsibility. This is, I hate to say it, this is an American suburban viewpoint of poverty, as far as I'm concerned. Because I live in the suburbs, I've lived in the suburbs all my life in the United States, and when you bring up sharing or the need to help the poor or whatever like this is a very common viewpoint. They think that it's a lack of responsibility on the other person's part that's keeping them in that situation, and that's not the case. It's not the case. It's an illusion, what you're saying. It's not true. So there are people who are living in poverty because they've made the wrong decisions in their life. They maybe got stuck on drugs. They didn't handle their money well enough, and they got kicked out of their house, and now they're homeless. Okay, so there are those people who that happens to. Even those people, okay, because of the fact that I would consider it a lack of education as a whole, that's not educating the people properly on how to live, because we are all basically living in a world of competition, and the more competitive you are, the greedy you are, the more ambitious you are, maybe the more education you have because you had a little bit more of an edge, because your parents maybe had enough money to send you to a better school. Therefore, then you can get ahead where other people don't have those advantages. But if you look at abject poverty and starvation, they do not have any ability to get out of that situation because the system itself is set up to benefit the few at the expense of the many, is the way it is. And until you see poverty as it really is, where people are literally starving to death, literally have nothing, it makes no sense. When you live in the United States, you kind of live a sheltered life, Now, even those people who are lucky enough to get a job in some of these third world countries, a lot of them are manufacturing jobs, but the pay, the conditions, the hours, the what they have to put up with to work in those situations and so forth, you and I probably wouldn't even consider that even being a job. Long hours for pennies, maybe $1 a day, $2 a day sometimes. It's crazy. Also, because the manufacturer wants to manufacture something for the United States or Western Europe or something at a cheaper price. So these people work in these unworkable conditions for people in the United States would consider to be unsafe, unhealthy, against labor laws and so forth, child labor laws even, in order so we can have cheaper shoes. And so, or they can still sell it at the same price. Maybe the shoes wouldn't be cheaper, but their profits would be a lot larger. So they might, they get the cost down for making a shoe for Nike, and then they turn around and sell it for $200 to somebody here in the United States. The system is set up to benefit the few at the expense of the many. That's what's going on, and that's what we have to wake up to the fact that that's what's going on. But starvation is a huge, huge issue. And Maitreya will say it is the number one issue that we have to tackle first. We can't even tackle the environmental problem until we handle the starvation issue. like you said, without sharing, there could be no justice. Without justice, there could be no peace. Without peace, there could be no future. So those people who are out marching for justice, whether it's social justice or ecological justice or whatever, Maitreya is going to elucidate to all of us and inspire and galvanize those groups to come together to tackle hunger first, because that's the first thing we have to do. If we do not do that, we will never create justice and we'll never have peace, and then our future is going to be bleak indeed. So when he starts to really put a light that only Maitreya can put a light on the starving millions and so forth, humanity really probably won't wake up to the fact that it's a problem the way that it is. And these people have no voice. That's the other thing. So Maitreya will be the voice for those people who have no voice. Now, the other thing is, when Maitreya steps up to the podium on the day of declaration, and when he finally declares himself as Maitreya, or the one awaited by all the religions, or he's expected by religions, or however he's going to phrase it, he is also going to give humanity a vision of the future if we do not accept the principle of sharing, and the vision of what could happen if we just do accept the principle of sharing. So we will be able to see it from Maitreya's perspective and how important it really is. We'll have a heartfelt response to it that somebody couldn't get from somebody like me just telling you how important the principle of sharing is. Only Maitreya can do something like that. So we just have to see but it's really about the response from humanity to bringing this about. But it has nothing to do with personal responsibility. And then the other thing about Donald Trump promotes personal responsibility. I guess, David, the thing that I would challenge you to find me a video where he actually is an example even of personal responsibility. He's somebody that I've known about Donald Trump for 30 years maybe or more, and he's kind of made this little niche for himself. He has no athletic ability, no musical or artistic talent, he can't act, because he's even tried to put himself in movies and he's not very good at that. But yet he's always had a name for himself, right? But anytime he fails at something, he always blames somebody else. And he's even done this over the past few years as being president. He'll put forth something, it doesn't work, and he'll blame the people that were carrying out what he wanted to do and blame them and never take personal responsibility for himself. So I challenge you to, or anybody, please find me a video where Donald Trump says, "I'm sorry, I was wrong, it was my fault." Or any one of those three, he doesn't have to use them all in the same video, but just any one of those three phrases or words, please tell me that. And then I will believe what you have to say about him promoting personal independence. I think personally, they're promoting a government that just doesn't give a shit about the people is really what it is. Go find some other job, I mean, they're saying there's 8.5% of the population are unemployed. I think it's probably closer to 25 or 30%. But that's as the numbers get greater, because we're going to have a train wreck coming over the next few months in terms of unemployment because of the unemployed that are happening now. Even if it is 8.5%, that's still extremely high. It's almost what it was 12 years ago. Let's say those numbers are 100% accurate. Well, it's going to cause greater unemployment as time goes on, because even 12 years ago and during the Great Depression, it took months after the crash happened for it to really start to feel its effect. Now, in terms of saying I'm way deceived, well, you're not the first person to ever tell me that. So it really doesn't bother me. But hey, we all have different opinions, man. It doesn't mean I'm deceived or you're deceived. I'm not saying that you're deceived either. You know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. So you think I'm deceived, that's your business. Alrighty. And whatever. I'll just leave it like that. All right. Now, the next comment, there's a few comment and replies that I wanted to address. Now, it says the date, and this person has brought this up quite a bit. So the date of the death of natural resources at the hands of mankind and the need for the beginning of greater cooperation between humans and nature, I do agree with that, according to the Coptic Orthodox calendar, came at the end of the previous month and the beginning of this month approximately. There was a reply, said, I believe that humans need to be closer with nature 200%. And we are definitely depleting resources, but we haven't run out of natural resources. So the prophecy seems wrong. All right. And then whether this prophecy is true or false, it is certain that Biden will lose and lose in the next U.S. election. Trump will win a second term, and then he will declare an economic war on China. Iran will declare war on America as well. This will be a global issue that can prepare for the arrival of Maitreya on the day of the World Declaration. I think that Maitreya will come soon at the beginning of 2021 and claim that this prophecy is correct and that the planet has entered the age of Aquarius at the beginning of this month. And then it says, so what is the correct date for it, and how did the Mayan people know the future? Okay, so first of all, I agree with the reply. We haven't run out of natural resources. And I'm not trying to be flippant about the comment, because I do appreciate you writing this comment. But I've noticed that the goal line keeps getting pushed back and back, because I think 3 months ago it was supposed to happen the next week that we're going to run out of resources. Of course, it's important. We don't want to run out of resources. That's why we need to recycle. That's why we should stop. I think the main resource that we're probably depleting more than anything is trees, and it's causing an asphyxiation of all of us and having a harder time breathing because there's less oxygen in the atmosphere. I know, my hardcore capitalist friends could disagree with that, but I've noticed that the air is not, it's not as much oxygen in the air as there used to be when I was, years ago. But anyway, Maitreya is going to shed light on the ecological problem differently than most people are aware of today. Most people who are fighting for changes in, politically and ecological, the environment and hope ending carbon emissions and those kind of things, so that climate change, won't be a drastic problem, which it is a problem. But when Maitreya starts to be more known for who he is on TV, even if he's still just using the alias that he's using today and not claiming to be Maitreya, he'll start to shed light on the fact that actually the real problem, the major problem, is not even carbon emissions, and it's certainly not the using up of the natural resources, which, like I said, is a problem. The first priority should be the ending of the way that we're producing nuclear power today. That's causing the biggest environmental disaster of today. The way that we store nuclear power, the way that we store the nuclear waste, and of course the way that our power plants are powered by nuclear power is the single biggest pollution problem around the world. In fact, according to the masters, if it wasn't for the help of the Space Brothers, who tirelessly go around our atmosphere, cleaning up the atmosphere as much as they can within karmic limits, we would be probably dead already, all of us. So we owe them a tremendous debt. The problem is with nuclear power affects physicality above gas. So the way that our scientists are measuring nuclear radiation is coming from the solid, the liquid, and the gaseous states only. But there's 4 levels of physicality above gas called the etheric, and that's what's happening. It goes right out into the atmosphere, saturates everything from what we eat to what we drink to what we breathe. We're all ingesting this radiation and we're unaware of it. And so our scientists would say that it's safe, and most people who are even marching for a change in ecological policy globally, right, the Greta Thunbergs of the world, would probably not even see that there's a danger in nuclear power. But there's a huge, huge danger in it. So Maitreya is going to have to shed a very powerful light on it very quickly to really address that problem. Or we're not going to take it serious enough, and we won't change our ways quick enough, and it could cause permanent damage, to the planet if we're not careful. Now, I do think that we will have enough time. I think Maitreya will convince humanity in time to where we don't destroy ourselves, permanently, but it's an issue. And then once we've tackled that issue, then we're going to go with the carbon emissions and really look at how we can we can tackle that because that is increasing the temperature. It's causing the icebergs to melt and so forth, which is causing problems all over the world and with our oceans and everything like that, of course. Then we have to look at other types of pollution, pollution within our cities, the way that we have been polluting our lakes, rivers, and oceans and so forth. And, it's going to go down the line. But the first thing that we have to look at is the nuclear pollution first and solve that problem. And I think that, again, I think it's going to take somebody at the stature of Maitreya to convince all of us that, we've been doing that wrong all along. Because, like I said, even most of the environmentalists out there think that nuclear power is totally safe, and it's not. So, all right. Now, the other thing about the Trump will win the second term, he could, it could happen. He could also lose and then refuse to leave, I guess, is the other option. Maybe he will just walk off into yawn good night and just, ride off into the sunset if he loses. I doubt it, but whatever. He's kind of trying to set himself up that if he loses, he's not a loser. He'll claim that he's still won or whatever. I don't know. Now, economically, there's always been an economic war between China and the United States. There's been global, what do they call it, geopolitical wars going on between Russia and the United States over oil, between China and the United States. That stuff's been going on for a long time. Will Iran ever declare war on America? I don't know. Maybe. So we'll see. I guess. I doubt it, but we'll see. Now, in terms of this will be a global issue that can prepare for the arrival of Maitreya. Of course, Maitreya is already on TV. He hasn't declared himself on the day of declaration, but that's all. It's not based on global turmoil. It's based on the response from humanity from what he's already been teaching is when he'll come out on TV. So if the humanity, if all of us start to look at we should change our ways. Yeah, maybe we should, share the world's resources, at least try it and see if it works. That would bring about it a lot quicker. Now, I do think the coronavirus and the economic crash that's happened and is happening will accelerate the day of declaration, earlier because, nobody really wants, especially in the United States, we're kind of spoiled rotten. Okay, now other countries and where this person's writing from in Iraq, they don't live life like that. They're not as spoiled as we are. But will people in the United States be willing to change and try something new if everything's going great? No, of course not. We need to get hit over the head a little bit. We're kind of thick. So that's the only reason why I think that the suffering is necessary, is just so we change our ways. Maitreya doesn't need all that in order to come out or to speak directly to humanity. He's already been speaking directly to humanity. But obviously we're not, as a people, not 100% listening to what he's having to say. Maybe some of us are internalizing it when we hear it. We might not know who he is, but that's kind of an interesting thought. I never thought about it like that or whatever. So I don't know how he's phrasing his solutions to about our ever-going problems, or how he's doing it, but he's obviously doing it very quietly because nobody's recognizing him as Maitreya. Now, the last thing I want to comment about is it says, I think that Maitreya will come soon at the beginning of 2021 and claim that this prophecy is correct. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know. And that the planet has entered the age of Aquarius at the beginning of this month. Okay, so a couple things about that. First of all, hopefully we don't have to wait to 2021 when like I said, I don't subscribe to the belief that Maitreya will come then. He's already out on TV. Will more and more of us start to recognize this man on TV being Maitreya by the beginning of 2021? Yeah, there's a strong likelihood of that for sure. Now, in terms of the prophecy being correct, Maitreya is probably not going to claim any prophecy as being correct. He's not even coming to confirm any prophecies. He's only coming for two reasons: his love of humanity and the fact that he made a promise through all the religious teachings that he would come back, and he's coming to fulfill that promise. Just as same thing happened with Jesus, same thing happened with the Buddha. Okay, so most of us are more familiar with the teachings of the Bible. So Jesus did not come to confirm, or the expectation, I guess is a better way of saying it, that the people had for eons, or centuries, about how the Messiah would come back. It was the love of humanity that when the Christ came back in the world and why he came back. But he didn't look anything like they thought he would look. And that was the problem. That's why they killed him. Maitreya, if you fast forward to today, he's not coming to confirm anybody's belief. He's not coming to confirm the Christians' belief over the Muslims or the Muslims over the Hindus and so forth. He's coming because he made a promise to humanity that he would come back. And he also, his love for humanity is the way that the Christ could love humanity. So he loves humanity a lot better than I do. I think people can be pretty dumb sometimes. Anyway, now he would say, no, Gary, no, you don't understand. I mean, you should see the potential of this person. I mean, oh my God. So when he sees humanity, he sees not only where you're at today, but he'll see where you're headed thousands and thousands of years from now after you become a master. He sees all that. So that's why he loves humanity the way he loves humanity. He sees the potential in all of us. So anyway, and if he can love somebody like me, he can love pretty much anybody, because I can be pretty hard to take sometimes. Now, in terms of the age of Aquarius beginning at this month, the age of Aquarius, or the energies, I guess a better way of putting it would be, it's more of it has to do with our solar system and not our planet. Our solar system started to move out of alignment from the constellation of Pisces and more under the, and to start, I guess it started about 500 years ago. And ever since then, it's been moving farther and farther away from the constellation of Pisces and more into under the constellation of Aquarius. And so energetically, more and more, we're seeing more and more effects of that energy of Aquarius than of Pisces. Now, where we're at today is humanity is roughly half under the influence of Aquarius, and the other half is the energies of the past of Pisces, and respond to those energies. So it's roughly half. You would think by first look of it, that the reactionary forces are those who are conservative and want to keep the status quo and keep things the way it was. That are those people who are responding to the energy, still responding more to the energies of Pisces, of individualism, David, as you put it, versus group, for change and those kind of things, would have more power. But they have the structures that are already in place. Now the structures are crumbling, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the evidence of the economic structures crumbling. No matter what they try to do, it just keeps crumbling in on themselves. They tried doing it 12 years ago. It raised it for a time, but now what happened again? Wham! And it'll just keep doing it again, and it'll keep getting, if they were able to prop it back up the way they want to, it'll only make it harder in the end on all of us. So we're just seeing the end of it, right? The other half of the people who are slightly more progressive than the conservative half don't have the structures yet put in place to support what they see is necessary for humanity. So they're kind of just left out there. That's where Maitreya is fitting into all this, is because Maitreya is going to help to inspire both sides to help build the structures for the new time and forget about and let go of the structures of the past. The structures of the past supported the few at the expense of the many. The structures of the future will support the needs of all of us. And that is the major difference. So you have those people politically who are fighting tooth and nail to keep things the way they were, because that's what's familiar for them, and that's what's keeping them in power, because they are a part of that system. Then you have people who see that system's not working for everybody, so why should we keep it? And that's where we're kind of in this flux, right? So typically, I end the videos with reading one of Benjamin Creme's Masters articles. And today I want to switch gears a little bit and actually just read a message from Maitreya that was actually given through Benjamin Creme on the 31st of March. That's my birthday, so it must be a special message because it was my birthday. No, I'm just kidding. No, had nothing to do with me, so you won't hear my name in it. I'm just kidding. But I think it's very pertinent to what we were just talking about in terms of the time and why it's, you'll have to just, hopefully you'll hear it all the way through and you'll see what I'm talking about. It is pertinent to what's going on today. But he gave this message through Benjamin Creme before he died, of course, March 31st, 2016. These days are difficult for many. Even the best and the closest feel the pains of doubt and reservation. But when I say that I engage with you as one of you before the world, it is the truth. Likewise, when I say that the time is close indeed when all men will recognize my face and respond, it is the truth. Only the law bids me wait a very little time, but within the law I am verily with you daily, in constant rapport with your needs and the opportunities presented to myself by you. Soon humanity as a whole will awaken to my presence and will accept with all willingness the transformation of this our world. Remember that we are at the beginning and the end of a civilization, an epic period in the history of the world, and understand thereby that men feel the pain of change. For some, it is a release into freedom. For others, it is a loss of surety and calm. But my brothers, pain will be short-lived, and already many know this to be so. There is aid in abundance to help you through these difficult times. Accept eagerly this age and recognize the signs of the new. Verily, verily, I am with you. Verily, I am among you in many ways. Judge for yourselves, my brothers, how close you are to my expectations of a new world. This will be a world in which all men are one, in which all men fulfill the joy of creation and fulfill the love, their capacity to show the way to their brothers in simplicity and truth. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.